Hello there, it is Jessica Weaver, founder and owner of the Wealth Boutique, and in honor of, we do a friends and family discount every November and December for our estate plans that we do in-house. We have a partnership with a company that has attorneys in every state, so it doesn't matter where you are, we can still help you get these things done. Now, why are we so adamant about this? Well, it turns out that only 29% of women have a will. So we have 2/3 of women who are living out there without any estate documents. Only 9% of women have a trust, and more women than ever have assets. Whether you're going into a marriage with assets, getting married later in life, having children later in life, getting divorced, right? You have assets to protect. But yet only 9% have a trust. 58% of women are lacking any kind of estate plan. So there is a gap here. What can we do about this gap? How do we shrink it so that your work, your money, your assets, everything that you have achieved, there's a legacy to it? So let's break it down to what does the estate plan process looks like? Because I get this question a lot. Do I even have enough assets for an estate plan? I'm a single woman with no kids. Why do I need an estate plan? Do I need an estate plan? I just got divorced. How do I even begin the process for it? What are triggering moments of updating an estate plan? How often should I review it? So we're going to get into it today. Sound good? Well, the first step is understanding there is the legal documents that make up your estate plan, which are your wills, power of attorneys, living wills, trust documents, beneficiary designations, and then there is the funding of your estate. So let's say that you create a trust. That's great, but nothing is in the trust until you fund the trust, which is the act of retitling assets, whether it's a house, a non-retirement account. We can't name a retirement account as a trust. It would have to be the beneficiary, could be the trust. But until you do that process of retitling or redeeding items into the trust, there's nothing in the trust. Okay? And then what else is going to flow through the will, through your estate, and what's going to flow directly to the beneficiaries? If you have life insurance policies, annuities, retirement accounts like 401ks, IRAs, those will all have a beneficiary designation on them. And what that means is it will go directly to that named person, charity, organization, versus to your estate. If it goes through your estate, then it will flow through your will, what you laid out in your will. A lot of people don't realize there's two different channels here. We have the beneficiary channel, transfer of money that will go directly to those beneficiaries regardless of what the will says. And then we have the other assets that will flow through your will, your bank accounts, your house, any non-retirement accounts, anything that does not have a beneficiary designation on them. We recently met with a grandmother, and she was explaining how her granddaughter inherited assets from her mother. Now, the assets were inherited via a beneficiary designation, but in the will, she dictates something different. Doesn't matter. The beneficiary designation will always trump what the will says. So while it's causing all sorts of confusion because they didn't know which way will the assets flow through, the will and have these conditions or directly through the beneficiary designation without condition. So another huge item that we see happening here is that women on average will leave on the table about $940,000 over their life of their career, about $1 million. Why? Why are we doing this? Well, one is because we're not having these conversations. Women were never brought up talking about money. We're not comfortable speaking about money, looking at our money. If we're not comfortable speaking about our money, we're not going to be out there asking for raises and promotions because it feels weird to us. It's foreign to us. But about half of that $940,000 that is left on the table, half of that is because we leave the workforce for caretaking, to take care of other people. And it turns out most of the time we leave the workforce, you might see it with new moms taking a pause to be with their children, but even later in life, leaving the workplace to take care of a parent. And when you leave the workplace in your, let's say 50s, 60s, 70s, you're leaving at your peak time for earnings. Your peak season to save for retirement, pay off your debt, and contributing to Social Security. So 3 things that were working against us at that time. So for your estate documents, think about your parents. Do your parents have things lined up? Do they have things to help with long-term care? And if you're in this situation of caretaking for a parent, which we just had somebody in here, and he had to completely pause his entire career to take care of both of his parents. And I was trying to get back into the workforce. How do we make sure that you're okay so that you don't do that to your children? And if you don't have children, how do we make sure that you're not a burden on somebody else? So part of the estate planning process is looking at things like long-term care. Where does this fit in? There's a 70% chance you will need long-term care once you hit age 65. We just started working with a new woman. We're going to call her Tina. And Tina is divorced. And she has a child who lives all the way across the United States in a different state. And this is a priority to her. She does not want to uproot his life for her long-term care. She wants to stay at the home as long as possible. She wants to make sure that there's still an inheritance for him to inherit later on. So what are we doing? Well, we just set up her estate documents. Through this partnership, she got her will, power of attorneys, living wills, trusts set up. Now we're moving on to long-term care to protect that inheritance from it all being caught up in long-term care facilities like a nursing home. That can be so expensive for it too. And then we're building out her retirement because one of her big fears is, what if my job, because of AI, is no longer? How do I have a backup plan so that I can still retire and not feel the need to have to work anymore, that work optional lifestyle for it? So we created the estate plan documents, the legal documents with our estate group partnership. Next up, we are protecting the estate from long-term care costs. And now we're going to fund her retirement. We are funding her long-term care and we're funding her legacy through the different assets. So what are the assets that will be the best for her son to inherit tax efficiently and also with ease of transitioning those assets? So placing assets into a trust like her house might be the right option for somebody like her, depending on what the attorney will say. Obviously, everything is subject to legal advice. We are not attorneys here. We are not CPAs here, but we work very directly with them because all of this will impact your estate plan. So next steps. Like I said, we can work with anybody in any state. If you're a woman here watching and you want to get this done, we run a holiday friends and family deal right now from November through December. We have limited spots available and we are already pretty booked up, I have to say. Don't sit on this. This is an investment into your future and especially for your family. I remember sitting on a plane with a mother and grandmother, actually, and she was explaining that her son had passed away and he didn't have any life insurance. He didn't have any estate documents set up. And his children, her grandchildren, some were in college, some were still in school, elementary school. Well, one, they didn't have enough money to stay in the house, so they had to sell the house and downsize. The kids had to leave their school, their friends, after just losing their father. The kids in college had to leave college, start working in order to pay for their college and to go back to school. The children were very resentful because they said, if my father had loved us as much as he said, why didn't he not prepare for something like this? That's not the legacy that you want to leave behind to your family. I want to leave my family in a better situation than if I was even here still. And I can do that through things like having the right estate document set up, having the right amount of life insurance so that nothing changes in their world. If anything, it gives them even more back because I'm not here anymore. And for those of you women who own a business, protect that business. I just did this myself, created my own continuity succession plan so that the right people are in place if something were to happen to me, even if I'm still living, but I'm very disabled, or if I die unexpectedly, that my clients are taken care of, the team, the staff is taken care of, and all of our advisors who plug into us are taken care of and in a much better spot. And all my hard work that I pour into the Wealth Boutique, my family will be able to reap the benefits of it through things like life insurance. So hopefully this gets you thinking and moving. If you don't know where to start, you start with a conversation with us. That is the first step. It does not have to be too much. We've had people come to us, they don't even know who they want to inherit their assets. Maybe they don't have children of their own, or they want to do a charity and they're trying to figure it out. Have the conversations, because we've done almost 100 estate plans over the last 2 years. We've seen so much. We've had so many conversations with attorneys that we will be able to help you narrow it down and figure it out. So the first step, DM me if you are interested in taking advantage of our friends and family discount this holiday season to give the best gift that you can give for your loved ones, an estate plan. I'll see you next time. Bye, ladies.